Hey everybody. Well, I'm putting LED lights in the Transit Connect conversion van, and I know there are a lot of options out there for LEDs. Some that are just strips that you can stick almost anywhere, but I didn't want to stick anything on this headliner for fear that it would leave a strip of stickiness or a mark or tape or whatever. And they have kinds that you can use with the remote. They'll flicker on different colors and just all kinds of different options out there for LED lights. Just a regular disc that you can put up someplace, and it has batteries in it and that sort of thing. But I figured I'm carrying this 12-volt battery. I might as well utilize that. And from my other van build and some other projects, I've scrounged together a bunch of materials, and I made a LED string out of these 35 millimeter film canisters and some wire, some real small wire that I had. And I put 5 of them, 5 little lights on this string. I'll cut to a little video and show you how I made them. They're pretty easy to make, pretty cheap to do. It takes a little bit of time. The way I did it, it was kind of time consuming. But anyway, I just used the wire and tucked it behind these little caps that hold the headliner on there, and tucked that wire behind them, and then over to this side, and I ran it down behind this rubber weather strip down here to a little plug-in that I made, so I can unplug them, and if I want to take this battery box out of here, I can do that, and I don't have to worry about the lights. I can just leave them in the van, like if I'm going to set this outside to charge or whatever. And then the way I hooked it up to this Renogy PWM charge controller, these have a feature on them that I rarely see anybody using, and I personally haven't ever used it before myself. But there's a section here. It has a little picture of a light bulb, and that's exactly what it's for. It's like connecting a small load to, like say a little tiny fan or something like that, or an LED light. And then you can program it using this button and reading this little screen to either come on and run for a certain amount of hours, certain amount of time, anywhere from 1 to 15 hours. You can program it to come on and off with just the switch, like I have it set right now. I push the button, an amber light shows up showing that the load is on, and then shut it back off, and that's kind of nice. So I didn't have to put a switch in here. I just connected it to this, and I'm using the switch on the charge controller, which is just inside the door. And you can also program it to come on as soon as the sun goes down, and then turn off as soon as the sun comes up. So there's a lot of different options on how to use that, and I thought there's going to be some benefits to that. For instance, as an example, if I'm out walking around and I know I'm going to get back to the van after the sun goes down, I could program that to come on as soon as dusk sets, or as soon as the sun goes down. The lights will come on in here, and then when I get back to the van, the lights are on. And being LED, heck, that battery will run those LEDs indefinitely, basically. I never really have to worry about it running that battery down. I'd leave them on all night long if I wanted to. Or I could use them as a, say you're at a campground and you're out doing whatever you're doing and you're going to come back later after the sun goes down. You could program it to come on for a couple hours and then shut off, so it would kind of act as a, like somebody's home but somebody's not really there. You know, the lights come on as soon as the sun goes down, and then in 2 hours they're going to shut off. I don't know if you can program it that way specifically, but there's quite a few options with doing that. And that's what I come up with. They were cheap to make, but you know, it took some time. But just like every other theme that I have in this van build, on this particular van build, is I'm trying to use things that I already have and trying not to go buy stuff. And I'm doing pretty well with that. But anyway, I'm going to cut to the video, kind of show you how I put them together. And then maybe, well, I don't know, I'll probably put up the video before I test them at nighttime, but I want to check them at night. I don't think they're going to be extremely bright. I don't want a real bright light, and that's kind of why I put them in these canisters, because it'll kind of act like a diffuser and just kind of make a little light out of it and not be as bright as just sticking up a string someplace, which is fine. It just depends on what kind of light you want. I may actually make another one with just one single strip and put it down here by the battery box. Maybe just stick a LED strip to the top of this and connect it, and then I could unplug the big string and just have that one single light, kind of use like a night light or something. Anyway, lots of different options, and that's what I come up with. I hope you like it. So here's a look at how I made these LED lights. I took some of these LED strips. These things are real cheap. You can get them on eBay, or I think I bought these at Banggood, like 2 20-foot rolls for like $10 or something like that. And this particular brand has 3 LEDs, and then you can cut it, a resistor, 3 more LEDs, you can cut it, and so forth. So I cut it into the smallest strips I could, which in this case is going to be 3 LEDs per light, like this. Here's one that I've got done. And then I took some servo wire, and this is most of this stuff's from my hobby side of my life. I took this, I think it's 22 or 24 gauge, really tiny wire, and made some sections of wire to go in between the lights. This is the end, and it just has a piece of heat shrink on the end of it. And then I took a film canister, 35mm film canister. Again, this is stuff I had laying around. I had 4 or 5 of these laying around from other projects. I cut a hole in the lid so I could pass the wires through it. And then I just made one of those little LEDs into kind of a light bulb. Three LEDs, and then wrapped it up like this, thread it through so I could pull it up in the film canister like a light bulb, and then just put the cap on. And then I strung 5 of those together to make a strip of the, I don't know what you want to call them, little party RV camper lights. And then I'm going to hang these in the van. The other end that I'm going to power it from, I made a little plug using some of these little tiny connectors, little plugs like this. This one's going to hook to my solar charge controller, so it just has bare wires on the end of it. And the negative is the only one that's exposed, because this is going to be powered all the time as long as the solar charge controller is putting out power. This one connects to the light string, so the exposed one is the positive, and of course that doesn't have any power coming to it. It only receives power when you plug it in. Anyway, it's just to keep from shorting these out when I'm unplugging and plugging and moving about in the van. And then that just plugs in like this. So that way I can disconnect it or reconnect it if I want to pull that little battery box I made out of the van and set it on the ground. I could just unplug this, or I could leave it plugged in if I have enough cord. It's very time consuming, but it was fun, and I like doing this kind of stuff. I don't know, it probably took me a couple hours to put this one light string together and make the adapter and and all of that stuff. So you can buy light strings, all different kinds of LED light strings that'll flash and do all that sort of thing, but I wanted to make my own since I have this stuff laying around, so that's what I did. Let me know what you think about it in the comments, and we'll see you guys on the next one.